Hey, everybody, we're here for a new episode of Five for Talking. We're back from the days off. The new year has started. I'm here with Caps, the captain of the show, and we're just going to jump right into this, talk about Robin Lehner.
Strange case. So apparently he bought a $1.2 million snake farm, I believe. And then the person he bought it from was going to be managing it. And I mean, the person that he was married to killed him. And now there's a problem with the snake farm, and it's chaotic, and he doesn't know what to do, and all this stuff that's happening has caused him to file for bankruptcy. So he's messed, he's screwed, and it doesn't matter how much money he makes from the NHL. It looks as though that he's just he's in shambles. And
Well,
yeah,
I don't know if you have the exact number, but I believe he's in debt like $10 million.
I heard it's more.
Okay, so it's even more than that.
I heard it's more.
So a lot of rumors have been flying around. I'll wait to get to that, but apparently this has been going on for a while, and he's known about it, and the news just hasn't gotten out until now. But onto the rumor thing, there's a lot of stuff swirling around on the internet that this is what his union complaints and his disability complaints and like the NHL's injury stuff was all about, because he was trying to fake injuries to get paid extra payouts to cover the debt that he's in. Like through claiming that he needs the mental disability things, all that stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
You guys can look back into that if you want.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it is, but it sounds plausible.
I wouldn't argue with that. I don't know if he'll be able to come back to the NHL. I mean, I don't know what he can do. Even if he does come back, there's no way he'll be focused. I don't think a team can depend on him. I don't think management can depend on him. But I don't think he would be able to revive his career in the NHL. And even that last year when all this stuff was going on, he just was not focused, and Vegas was not playing well. And, it's going to be hard for him to come back.
Yeah, I don't think he's a liability. I don't think anyone's going to take the risk on him.
Huge liability.
Maybe like a really, really, really bottom feeding team that's trying to rebuild and desperately needs a goalie on a cheap contract is probably the only way he's getting a job again.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. He was really starting to do well as a goalie. But yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, do you have anything else on that?
Negative.
What about Bruce Boudreau?
No, I got to say, I feel bad for him. I hate the fact how the organization's handling it, because it came out premature that they are looking to replace him, and they've already had someone in mind, Rick Tocchet, and they were going to announce it soon, I believe Monday. And to have this guy still be with the organization, knowing full well that you have somebody else that's just waiting in the wings to replace him, I think it's just cruel, and I think it's just wrong.
I think it also that shows that the organization just isn't a good one. If you're going to fire the coach, so what, you're going to play multiple games with a coach that doesn't care what he's doing now because he's going to get fired? That just shows you that your team, the people that are managing your team, and as the fans, your team's management doesn't care about you or this team.
It's horrible. I mean, he did an interview the other day. The guy was like literally crying on TV. Like, you could tell that he's very emotional about this, and that he doesn't give two.
This is a guy that I would give anything to put him as the coach of the Leafs. Like, he's one of the best coaches of all time, let alone just the best coach of this era. Do you know what I mean? Like, Sure, okay, replace him with Rick Tocchet. What's Rick Tocchet going to do better than what Bruce Boudreau was doing?
But the other thing is, like, you're
That
absolutely right.
team
Like,
sucks.
the team sucks. That's exactly it. That's the bottom line, because they've gone through a number of coaches already, and it's become the norm. It's the same outcome. You know full well that there's there's no team chemistry there. I mean, there are some players that are trying. JT Miller's like, I don't know what he called. He just berated that backup goalie. Remember that clip that came out like a few weeks ago?
I do.
Like who does that? You know what I mean? It's childish. But there needs to be change, but I don't think the coach is the solution. I think it's some players need to go.
Well, okay, so this is a huge thing too for them, right? Like, I want to dig deeper into this to just like get the Bruce Boudreau-ness out of the reasoning. First of all, you have major goaltending issues. In my opinion, they thought Demko was going to be the guy, which, okay, that's fine. Number one, the defense on this team isn't great.
That's the thing. He needs
all
help.
Three goalies suck.
But they need help. You know what I mean? Like, they need help.
When you have, okay, so granted, Elias Pettersson is having a pretty good year, but for what he started out in the NHL as and what the expectations were, he's not doing anything like spectacular. He's playing well.
Agreed.
Then you're banking on Bo Horvat, who until this season was never a top guy on the team. He was more of like a guy you lean on to do things, but not your star player. So it's like, that's what we're here. And then JT Miller is 29, and he's had 1.5 good NHL seasons ever. And this is the guy that you paid to like be the star player of your team.
But Campos, just to add on to that, the last two players that you named, they've been discussed on trade rumors for the last few years. What do you think their mindset is in this organization? They're probably like,
that's
okay,
fair.
well,
you have like Brock Besser, who should be doing way better than he is. He just can't figure it out. He should be a top guy in the league, just like Elias Pettersson should be. They don't put the right people around them. Connor Garland has taken a huge step back. Ilya Mikheyev is doing what Ilya Mikheyev does. And then you have Ekman Larson, who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And then poor Quinn Hughes is just stuck there in this situation, right?
Yeah. It's so funny that you named all those players. They should be a good team with those players. And it's a lot of skill and talent there, but it's just not meshing. It's just not meshing.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so moving on from that, Bruce Boudreau is a great coach, by the way. So screw Vancouver. But refereeing, let's get some. You wanted to talk about something. I don't really have an opinion on this, but
I let's see. Maybe you might have an opinion after whatever I have to say. But I'm kind of very disappointed. Kind of disappointed in the refereeing in this year, because I've seen a lot of inconsistencies. Things that were considered interference calls last year are not being called this year. Like these pick plays that, seems to be happening that are being affected by the playoffs in certain games in the playoffs are, not being called during the season this year. Like that, there was a game between, I believe, Florida and Montreal not too long ago. And Stahl was trying to race after the puck, racing with a Montreal player going into the Montreal Canadian defensive zone, and the Montreal player just stopped and just checked Stahl. That's interference, and there was no call. Like some of these guys are getting hurt, and it's like, I don't know what the heck is going on. There have been a lot of inconsistencies, non-calls that are usually called before. And I just think that it's hurting the game. I don't know whether or not the players are just too fast for the referees. I don't know what the issue is, but I feel as though because of these inconsistencies, when we get into the playoffs, a team is going to get hurt by these inconsistencies. You know what I mean? And that's going to be a shame. That's going to be disappointing. So they need to get their together and start making the right calls, because I think it's hurting the game, and it's taking away from it. So that's just my 2-minute rant, and
Your 2-minute ranted in.
There you go.
Okay, yeah. Well, I guess I kind of do have a thing. Going on based on what you said, so they're not calling things now that they would have called last year. So, and then there's such this emphasis on protecting players, where anytime there's a big hit now, it's a penalty, even though the hit is clean or the hitter was not in the wrong. The other person needed to be paying attention to what was happening. And sure, some of these situations you can be like, okay, well, that's a penalty. I understand. But they're wasting so much time calling penalties on clean hits and letting these little things go to keep the pace of the game up. And it's just so inconsistent, which like you said, now I thought about what you're saying, and it's like wildly inconsistent what they're calling. Like clear as day, interference penalties are not being called, but we're calling penalties on someone who just did a big hit that was clean.
Yeah, but I'll even take it a step further. Like I've seen clips where calls are being made in one game during the season, but not being called in another game. You know what I mean? It's that inconsistent as well. You know, it's very inconsistent. Like I feel as though in order for a team to come up with a strategy against another team, they got to play by the rules, and they expect the referees to call the game based on the rules. You know what I mean? That's the way it should be, and it's just not happening. And it's like teams are being affected by it. So we just need a little more consistency by the refs. Things that are being called in one game should be getting called in another game. And they need to get together and just get this thing right. And hopefully they get it right before the playoffs start. Like
I agree with that, because the last thing we need is this kind of nonsense in the playoffs. So, I mean, that is what it is. We're going to move on here. We'll go through some quick news. Cole Caulfield is out for the remainder of the season for the Montreal Canadiens, which is a big loss for them. He's like the future star of this team. I mean, I guess
that one came out of nowhere, man.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it until today. So,
yeah,
like that.
They announced that just before the game tonight.
Oh, it was announced right before the game?
It's crazy. It's like, wow. Because I expected him to play.
I did not know that.
No.
Nikolai Ehlers passed Franz Nielsen for the most NHL goals by a Danish player, so congratulations to him. So I do have some Seattle news. We talked about this the other night. Seattle faced Chicago the other night, and they won, I believe, 8-3. So I was telling you this. In less than 5 minutes, or I think less than 4 minutes, Seattle scored 5 unanswered goals. Okay? The score was 6-1, and all 7 of those combined goals came on 14 total shots. Seattle had 7 shots with 6 goals, and Chicago had 7 shots with 1 goal. Like, that's the NHL's scoring rate has gotten pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
That like the goalies don't even factor into some of these games anymore. Unless you have a Hellebuck or a Vasilevsky, your goalie doesn't even matter anymore. Or whoever's in net for Boston, I can't remember his name, Olmark, because he has like 1 loss this season. But Seattle also entering into this new year, that was a record, by the way, most unanswered goals in or 5 unanswered goals in that time frame. Seattle entered the new year. So from January 1st until now, they are 9-2, including an 8-game winning streak to start the year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Seattle is legit, or is this just a phase?
Dude, they've been playing well, and they're first in the Pacific. Um, uh, I
Do you
mean,
think Ron Francis knew what he was doing?
oh, I think he was playing for the first round pick, but um, I think it was just the luck of the draw. I think he did a good job assembling this team, but they've really turned it around. And it kind of escapes me who the coach is, but they've done a really good job with getting these players to buy in. Dude, even when the Leafs faced them like a couple weeks ago, they've struggled against Seattle. So I think Seattle's legit as of right now.
It's
I think
Dave
Seattle's
Haxall.
legit. I
Is the
think,
coach.
yeah, I think Seattle's legit. They're first in the Pacific, man. They're good. They're good.
Yeah, you know what? And sorry, we judged them maybe unfairly in the first year, and they did pretty poorly. But their makeup now, when you look at the team and the way they play, I've seen maybe 4 games, actually 3 or 4, and they remind me of Vegas in the first season. There's no real star. They're pretty deep on defense. They have a group of decent goalies, and then all of their forwards are defensive players that can also score when they have to.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really hard to like break them down because there's so much defensive power throughout their entire lineup that all they have to do is score 1 or 2 goals and they're going to win the game. But since the new year started, like I said, they play Colorado tonight, but it's been 11 games in January for them. They've scored 8 goals twice in those 11 games. 8 goals. That's a lot of goals.
They're
Especially
legit.
for
They're good,
them.
man. They're good. They're good.
The Leafs really screwed up by letting them take McCann and not letting them have Kerfoot.
No, that was up to Seattle.
They didn't protect McCann and they protected Kerfoot.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I might be wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I'm sure you'd love to. Moving on from that, Ovechkin goal count, 810 goals.
I think he finishes with 900.
Yeah, I agree. This right now he has 30 goals in 48 games. I'm gonna say 55 goals.
Yeah, he's gonna get he's amazing, man. He's gonna finish with 50 goals this year, and the expectation was what, like 35, 40. So
yeah, okay. So we came into this year expecting like 30. When we did our predictions based on like games to goal ratio, I think like just before the new year, we were like, oh, it's going to be like 40, low 40s. He's on pace for like 58 right now. I'm calling 55. And I mean, that's really all I had just for general NHL stuff. I mean, other than Boston is fantastic. The top 4 teams in the NHL are all Eastern Conference.
Yep.
6 of the top 10 are Eastern Conference. Boston is 12 points ahead of Carolina, who's in second place, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
They're 19 points ahead of the Rangers that are in 10th in like whole NHL standings, not Eastern Conference. Boston is unreal. I genuinely think, I mean, obviously, knock on wood, I'd love it to be the Leafs. But Boston's probably taking it home this year if they keep playing like this.
The Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
I mean, the Eastern Conference is way better than the West, and nobody's beating Boston. Did the Leafs beat Boston?
I'm just not convinced with Boston yet. I'm sorry. There's something.
Okay, that's fine.
I just feel as though come playoff time, we'll truly get a sense of who they are and what they're capable of, because I just feel as though I just feel as though there's going to be a team that's going to beat Boston.
Yeah. Okay.
I just, you know.
That's
mean, hey,
fair.
when we started this thing this year, we said Carolina.
Carolina's second place.
And Colorado being in the finals.
I mean, Colorado's been injured all year.
Yes, but they've turned it up as of late. Now that they got McKinnon back, I'm not saying that they're going to tear it up, but they're looking pretty good. I'm still sticking with that pick.
You want to? I'll give you something for that. In fairness to that situation, a lot of people credited what he's done in his career because of McKinnon, because of Landeskog, blah, 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 Rantanen. Mikko Rantanen has continued to put up numbers equal to Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner without playing with anyone. Landeskog's been out the whole year, and McKinnon keeps getting injured, and he has not stopped producing. So I think this team, realistically, when you get everyone back healthy, is a legitimate contender. I'll tell you who I don't think is. We're going to do a tier list, so I'm not going to go heavy on spoilers. I don't think that the Tampa Bay Lightning are even remotely a contender. They might be in like the second tier where it's like, okay, they're too good of a team to be like, they're lower than that, but I don't think they're going to win the cup. I think there's a 0% chance that they're going to win the cup.
Yeah, we can say that for that.
But yeah, moving on from that, Leafs quickly. So Austin Matthews currently has 24 goals. He actually kind of got it back, and he's looking like he's going to get into the 40s by the end of the year, which is, I want that. Him, Nylander, and Marner all on pace for over 90 points this year.
Yeah.
And they're playing pretty well lately.
Yeah, they've been playing well.
They're a top 3 team in the NHL. It's
been a somewhat team effort. I still have my negative outlook on William Nylander. I think William Nylander is, you can't doubt what he can do offensively. He's probably going to have his best season offensive wise, but he doesn't. I still think at times that he just doesn't do a good job back checking and putting himself in situations where he can dig in the corners and get that puck out. Sometimes he doesn't battle, and is he doing it more this year than the previous years? Yes, but I still think he could do more. I think agree. He's capable of. I still think more.
He's young.
But he's older than Marner and Matthews
by a year.
But you know what I mean?
But I'm saying he's not that guy. And in fairness, I do agree with what you're saying. In fairness to him, he's not that guy. He should be. Everybody should at least try. I'm not going to defend him on that. But if the rest of the Leafs committed to doing what they're supposed to do, then a guy like Nylander wouldn't stand out as much as he does. Do I think he needs to play defense? Absolutely. I'm not letting him get off the hook, like I said.
Yeah, I've seen
he's just there to score goals. Matthews is starting to hit. Yeah. He's starting to dig, and I appreciate that.
I've seen Marner develop before. I've seen Matthews develop. They've really improved on their two-way game. But Nylander, he's got to develop too. He's got to put in the work. And, like I said before, I'm not doubting what he can do offensively. He's very capable and he's very skilled. But, it helps everybody else if he can pitch in and battle and fight for that puck. It just makes it easy for everyone else.
Absolutely. I agree. Let's address your issue.
Okay. I've defended this guy many times before. I'm not against me that, and against Bargle. I've said in previous videos that he should have been the captain. I've said all these things, and I think like Nylander, he's very skilled offensively, and he can bring a lot to the table offensively. But ever since he's come back, he has been a liability on defense.
He was a liability this season before he
Like,
left.
I'm watching tonight's game, and he must have iced the puck at least 5-6 times, and didn't need to. When he got injured, like the first comment I made on social media was everybody was worried, and I was like, no, they'll be fine. Less giveaways, and that's exactly what happened. The rest of the guys, and yes, I will say it on video, Hall has played better defensively than Morgan Rielly.
Unfortunately, that's true.
And you know what? Like, at the end of the day, Campos, if he does, he does. You know what I mean? If Hall can play well defensively, good on him.
Well, we want everyone to play.
Yeah, that's
properly.
exactly it.
And Giordano's made up for a lot of everyone else's shortcomings.
Yeah, and I'm worried about Giordano. He's going to need some rest at some point, man. Like, the Leafs
are so deep into the playoff run right now, or the race. They don't need to. They can bench him a little bit.
Yeah, they could. It's funny because like a lot of those guys, except for Hall and Giordano, everybody else has been benched for a game or two.
You don't need Giordano against Montreal. You could have benched him.
Well, he scored the first goal, but
they lost anyways.
Yeah, that was disappointing. The fact of the matter is, they really need to practice, and Rielly needs to smarten up, because I think he's a really great player, but he needs to buy into the system of stop, looking for these stretch passes and look for these small, quick passes. Like, it's very simple. It's actually a very easy fix. I think he could do it. He just needs to do it. And that's
I want to take it a step further than just quick passes. I want him to stop feeling like he has to skate the puck out of the zone every time he has the puck. It's like he has to be the center of attention. He always wants to get the puck and skate. And I don't need you to do that. That's why you have Marner and Matthews and Nylander and Tavares and all these guys. Give them the quick pass, like you said. It's
just that option too, like it's an option. Like, he doesn't need to do it every single time.
Yeah, I agree. It's just crazy to me. Even sometimes get it up to center ice and just put it up the boards. You don't need to dump it from your own zone every time. So this is my thing. It's not to say Morgan Rielly's bad, because obviously he's not bad whether I like him or not. But I think a lot of his errors are the lesser qualities that he has were covered up by Jake Gardiner making so many mistakes when we had Jake Gardiner, number one. Then once Jake Gardiner moved on, you had Travis Dermott and Hall that were like constant mistake machines, which covered up a lot of the issues that we had with Rielly. So no one's pointing fingers at Rielly, but now that everyone's really trying, all the young guys have stepped up, Sandin, Liljegren, everyone's playing well. We're noticing, holy crap, this whole time we've been losing in the playoffs because of Morgan Rielly. Like, not just him, but like, he's a factor.
Like, that's the craziest thing. You got guys younger than Morgan Rielly that are in their second year, and they've really improved. They've really stepped up their game, and they're playing as a team. But it seems like Morgan Rielly has taken a bit of a step back, and
he's peaked as a player. Crazy. He's not going to be better than he is now.
But he should.
He's 10 years in, however many years it is. I don't think he's in his prime. He's not going to achieve a new level. Especially because this is the thing, though. A Giordano guy who peaked late and is still doing what he's doing is because he has the added elements of extremely strong stick checking, extremely strong defensive abilities, and he can hit. Morgan Rielly has none of those three things. So I can't see him really. Those are not things you just get. Those are things that you come into the NHL with. Like, it's just natural instinct. Morgan Rielly is a winger that somehow got put as a defenseman.
I think it's an accountability issue, and I think the coach really needs to start holding him accountable and really start to develop him, and give him an ultimatum. Like, either you stop this crap of doing these stretch passes that half of the time don't even reach their destination because ultimately it gets iced down the other side of the rink. He just needs to be, held accountable. And I'm sorry. I just feel as though that it should be an easy transition for him. Because I'm sorry, like it's just much easier in theory. Logically, it's much easier to do a short pass than a stretch pass. That's just my opinion.
Difficulty aside, there's a much better chance of someone stealing the puck if you do that. The last thing, and then we're ending this. If experiment wise, if you were to take all of our defensemen, right? We're fully healthy. Okay. You put our best defenseman on the ice and you move Morgan Rielly to a wing and you take away our worst winger that we have playing. Is that an experiment you would want to try?
No.
You don't think that works?
No, I'm done with experimenting with this team. This team should have gotten their shit together.
Okay, well, so let's say the Leafs lose in the first round again. We come into next year, they're not willing to make any moves. We have the exact same team. You wouldn't want to be like, well, maybe having a defensive-minded winger that has his abilities is better than having a liability on defense where he's always pinching and getting caught.
Well, first and foremost, Campos, if they come back next year without making any changes, that'll be just ridiculous on them.
But can we say this? Goaltending wise, they've been good.
Yeah, I mean they've stepped up. I'm hoping that they can both keep it together and stay healthy. But I would dare say if our defense was fully healthy with Muzzin and all those guys, Rielly wouldn't be playing.
Fair enough.
I mean,
yeah,
I would take Jordy Ben right now over him because
I would take Jordy Ben. I would like to see Jordy Ben get more ice time. He's a solid defenseman.
Jordy Ben and Muzzin. Like, could you imagine Jordy Ben, Muzzin, all those guys? Like, you've immediately become tougher. Like, you know what I mean? Like
and better.
Now you've got your toughness,
and just better defensively.
Yeah, like, dude, this guy that they brought up like a few games ago, McMahon. He's like a grinder and a half. Like he's like, you give him some more playing time, he'll get it together. And I think
he comes from a family of wrestlers.
You know what I mean? But
but yeah, I mean,
they got some good prospects. I feel as though that a trade deadline, the Leafs are going to look for a defenseman. I'm not totally sold on the fact that they're going to look for a left wing, a legit top 6 left winger for the second line. I think they're fine, but I seriously think that they're going to look for a top end defenseman, defending defenseman, and I think that's going to be at the top of the list going into the trade deadline. As a side note,
yeah, that's fair. I'd like to see them make some smart draft picks. I'd like to see them turn Kerfoot's contract and whatever extra money they get from the cap into a really good defenseman, like a defensive defenseman, like you said, and replace that spot on the team with a young player that's let all the young guys that you had from last year's draft and this year's draft battle it out for a spot on the team. And that's what I want them to do. Because that's $4 million we don't need to waste. Guys, thank you for watching. Let us know what you think about Morgan Rielly in the comments. And peace out.